pumpkin. Have you bought a pumpkin so far?
Well,
Tom?
this year, no, I never do pumpkins.
Really?
I just think it's wasteful.
Well, you'll be listening to this then. It's interesting for you because this year, people like me were expected to spend over £29 million on pumpkins for Halloween. That's according to data from the comparison website Finder. It's up from £25 million in 2017. But data from the charity Hubbub has found that we throw away 18,000 tonnes of pumpkin, or around 8 million of them on average. And one company that is trying to combat this is the brewery Toast Ale, who are brewing a beer made from pumpkin waste in partnership with the charity. And Brewdog, good morning, Chris Head from Toast Ale.
Morning, Claire. Thanks very much for having me.
I was going to ask why we're throwing these pumpkins away. I can answer the question. They smell really bad. I've carved quite a few over the last few days, and the inside, I just don't know what to do with it. It's all gone in the bin.
Yeah, well, that's what happens a lot, unfortunately. About a quarter of the pumpkins that we buy end up going to landfill, which is mainly because, as you say, people aren't quite sure what to do with what's inside them, and they buy them more as a decoration. So what we do at Toast, we try to brew beers that are better for the planet. We brew all of our beers with surplus bread, and this year we're adding a pumpkin into the mix. So one way that we can make something delicious from the inside of that pumpkin is to brew it into beer.
It doesn't sound that appetising. You say it's delicious. What does it taste like?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's quite sweet. So pumpkin ales are particularly popular in America around Halloween time, and we're trying to bring that trend here to the UK. So it's quite a sweet beer. We're doing a Belgian style double with a Belgian brewer called Sven at Brewdog in Tower Hill, and we'll be mixing in about 50 kilos of surplus pumpkin, as well as 100 kilos of surplus bread from the National Bakery School.
And what's the take-up like? Are people up for pumpkin beer?
Yeah, I mean, it's, as I'm sure you know, the craft beer industry in the UK is growing a lot over the last few years. People are opening themselves up to a much more varied range of beer styles and beer tastes. So we're hoping that this October and being released in November, pumpkin beer will be the latest big thing in the craft beer market.
And go on, Tom, what were you going to ask?
Well, I was going to say that's not something that most people can do at home, though, is it?
No, that's true.
Yeah, no, they can actually. If there are any home brewers listening, we do have a recipe on our website for a 20-litre home brew batch. So if you visit toastale.com, there is a recipe on there. Yeah, I mean, you can scale it down. I do a bit of homebrew myself. I tend to do 5-litre batches. But the recipe we've got on the website requires about 1 kilo's worth of pumpkin and 1.5 kilos of surplus bread. So people can do this at home, absolutely. And if you prefer baking, Hubbub, or making pumpkin soup, Hubbub have a lot of recipes on their website as well that your listeners can go and try out.
See, I could be making pumpkin beer at home. I've threatened to make a pumpkin pie. I'm not sure I'll quite do that. There are many other ways we can use them, though, as you mentioned, Chris, aren't there? I mean, is this, a sustainable way, I guess, of combating what is pumpkin waste?
Yeah, well, the biggest problem with pumpkin waste is overproduction, to be honest. But the second to that, the thing that we can probably do more about as a consumer is making sure that pumpkin is then used as food, not just as something decorative. So I think using that food as something edible is the intention. If people are baking it or making a soup or now, brewing a pumpkin beer, that is doing what we can really to make sure that even if so many of these pumpkins are being produced, they're being used for what they're intended rather than used as something decorative.
And are you surprised by how popular pumpkins have become? And we don't really know what to do with them, but we're spending an awful lot of money on them, aren't we?
No, it's I think it's the American holiday of Halloween that has become ever more popular, via what we see on TV and films and things like that. It's become ever more popular here in Europe. I think it's in terms of the holidays that create the most revenue for retailers, I think it's third now behind Christmas and Easter.
Wow.
So it has become a big deal. Pumpkin lanterns do look lovely. And so people love to carve them out, put a candle in. But a lot of that flesh, as we've said, just goes in the bin.
It does.
I don't know. You haven't seen Claire's pumpkin lanterns.
I have quite a few, Chris. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much. And thanks for telling us all about the pumpkin beer. Chris Head there from Toast Ale. I might actually